It's the weekend one more time. We're super freaking excited. I hope everybody stayed hydrated during that 4th of July. Man, oh man, it was quite an adventure to say the least.
Oh, dude, like it was so much fun, but the heat was intense and the fireworks were bright and loud all night long.
It was a little rough. It was a little
It
rough. But
was.
today we're super excited because we have the one and only Ashley Alexander coming on the show. We're going to be talking a little bit about everything. But most notably, we're going to be talking about Animal Control, a recent project or a recent show that she was on that is huge for Fox right now. So that's going to be really exciting. And she's all over Hallmark and all the good things, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. Don't let her fool you. She's got an evil side. What am I talking about? Just wait. You're going to love hearing that one, too.
Oh my goodness. But man, oh man, that'll be later on in the show. Now let's get a little crazy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. Holy moly, we're on episode 228 this week, which is absolutely insane. It's wild, man. I feel like I can feel the gray hairs growing in. I'm just saying.
Think about it. 228, like 250 is right around the corner. It's so monumental. Our 200th guest is literally right around the corner. I seriously cannot believe that y'all have let us stay around this long. It's been fantastic, man.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's been kind of wild. It's been kind of wild, but you guys know your host with the most for 228 episodes. Myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mal.
What's up?
Oh my goodness. Before teasing the rest of the show, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast, comment below wherever you're listening, whether that be YouTube or podcast platforms, and tell us what you actually think about the show, because leaving a rating actually helps this podcast get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news and those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry.
Facts.
Man, oh man, there's so much going on. We're going to be talking all about SAG-AFTRA and the update on all of that. After we went off air last week, they did extend their contract negotiations further. So we're going to be updating you on that. We're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different things. If you've seen on previous shows, you guys know we kind of like the dark psychological shit when it comes to like serial killers and stuff like that. So this week's top 5 is top 5 serial killer movies. And I took a little liberties. I don't know if you saw this, but I took a little liberty.
I looked at your list and I'm okay with your list. I feel like those are credible. Those will work.
Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to think a little bit, but they all make sense to me. I mean, sure.
Exactly. But man,
I'm a psychopath serial killer. No, I'm kidding.
all the craziness. We started early. But before we jump into industry news, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got shirts, we have hats, we have coffee mugs, we have tumblers, we have teddy bears, we have anything and everything you need for your merchandise needs. Oh my goodness, it's so freaking amazing. And you have to be sure to follow us at Crazy Ant Media and at ITCAF Podcast on all social media platforms, so you know when we have our merchandise sales. That's right. Very important.
Including
so you can stay
Threads now. Get it? It's the perfect one for merchandise, right? Threads.
Literally.
Come on.
It's so funny. So funny. Well, like we've been teasing, I do want to jump right into the SAG-AFTRA conversations, saying that it's preparing for a potential TV, theatrical, and streaming strike, is asking members to take a survey about if and how they'd like to volunteer in an event a walkout is called. Now, a month ago, SAG-AFTRA members voted 98% in favor of authorizing a strike if contract talks fail to reach an acceptable deal. Now, prior to the authorization vote, the Guild laid out some of the key bargaining issues, which included economic fairness, residuals, regulating the use of artificial intelligence, and alleviating the burdens of the industry-wide shift of self-tape, which some people are for and some people are not.
It's true.
last Friday, like I mentioned before, the Guild and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers agreed to extend their contract negotiations to go to July 12th. That is the new deadline, July 12th, for the
Yes.
contract negotiations. The extension comes against the backdrop of the unprecedented grassroots campaign by the Guild members to urge the Guild to stand strong at the bargaining table and join the WGA on the picket lines if a major realignment in the industry can't be achieved. Now, last week, as we told you on the show, more than 1,700 actors, including many prominent SAG-AFTRA members, signed that letter to the Guild leaders saying that they would rather go on strike and join the WGA on the picket lines than comprise on the key issues. Now, negotiations have been underway since June 7th, and the two sides have exchanged proposals and had lengthy meetings in the past couple days. But sources have said they remain far apart on several of these key issues. As always, you guys know we will be keeping you up to date with what is going on in Hollywood. It's our moniker, but man, oh man, yeah, I think they are going to strike. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, me too. They're all, like I said, if they're already sending out memos asking who's going to volunteer on the picket lines to do what, you know it's coming. Look, from what we're hearing, the studios are just not conceding on the AI issue, and that is going to be the big stickler. We've got friends in the industry, we're in the industry. We are hearing all throughout that the money stuff, there's some concessions on both sides. I don't think it's a money holdup anymore. I think it's the AI that is the big issue that just will not go away. And I think you're right. The strike is a coming, but it's not just the Writers Guild. It's not just SAG. Next Wednesday's the deadline, so it's likely SAG next Wednesday. But it's also the Teamsters guy. The IATSE unveiled its core principles for the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies in the entertainment industry. The move follows the union's creation of a commission on artificial intelligence back in May. Now, AI is a key bargaining issue for both the Writers Guild and SAG, as I just said, and it will be for IATSE as well when it begins their negotiations for a new film and TV contract next year. Now, get this. Here are IATSE's core principles for the use of artificial intelligence. They are addressing comprehensive approach, research, collaboration with partners and stakeholders, education, organizing, maintain workers' rights, members' job security and union jurisdiction, political and legislative advocacy, and collective bargaining. Now, they are diving deep into all those subjects. If you want to know more about that, we will provide a link because it gets pretty intense. But it just shows you where the industry is heading with all these unions. Nobody wants AI. And I think you've listened to us long enough. We agree. AI does not belong in this industry. That's where I stand on it. That I know, Logan, you too.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing because we always say, the more tools, the better. But once those tools start eliminating jobs, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We cannot have that. That just goes against everything Hollywood is. It's about emotion. It's about inflection. So yeah, we're going to keep an eye on all of this, and we will definitely let you know what happens further along as this continues to progress, and we will provide that link on social media because it's absolutely crazy.
It is.
Well, we are heading over to Disney now, the juggernaut, the one we all know and love.
That's right.
What started as an extremely elaborate joke on a TV show has now somehow become an actual stage show, not to mention the first musical from Marvel. Now, what are we talking about? Of course, we're talking about Rogers the Musical.
Yes.
That's so crazy. And it's an expansion of the show of the same name that was briefly seen in the opening episode of Marvel's Hawkeye TV series, if you didn't see that on Disney Plus. Now, in that show, Clint Barton takes his family to see the Broadway musical, which turns out to be deeply ridiculous. And it's based on the events of the first Avengers movie. The response to Hawkeye was positive enough that Disney and Marvel decided to turn Rogers the Musical into an actual show at its Disney California Adventure Park in Anaheim. Now, the show, which runs about 30 minutes, premiered earlier this week. It does feature the big number from Hawkeye, plus several other new songs written by composer Christopher Lenertz. So that is very interesting. I'm sure that is a spectacle worth seeing. And I mean, who says Marvel can't have a musical? I'm down for it. I hope it gets leaked online.
Oh, you know it will. And you know, come on, admit it. If you watched Hawkeye, you know you were singing it. You know you were singing it. It was catchy. It only made sense. We kind of joked about it that they would probably do it for real, and sure enough, there it is. So I hate, though, that you can only see it out in California and not Disney World because of the whole issue with Universal and Disney World and the Marvel heroes. If you guys don't know anything about that, basically in Florida, Universal Studios has rights to the Marvel characters east of the Mississippi River. That's why they can't show up in Disney World. So it sucks, but if you want to go see it, go out to California. That's all I can say. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 looks like it will be Disney's biggest earner of the year with $835 million at the box office. Now that sounds like good news, right? Except it's the first time, get this, y'all, since 2014, except, of course, during the pandemic, that Disney won't have a movie that reaches $1 billion. The first time. For the past decade, Disney has been the Teflon movie studio, remarkably adept at withstanding the tectonic changes impacting the film industry, and well fortified by its arsenal of key properties such as Marvel, Lucasfilm, and Pixar. But this year, the long-reigning titan of the box office has shown cracks as 4 of its biggest releases from those brands and others have struggled in the theaters. There was the dispiriting release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a rare Marvel movie to likely lose tens of millions of dollars in its theatrical run. The Little Mermaid, a remake of the 1989 animated classic that fell drastically short of expectations. Elemental, an original story that tried and failed to recapture Pixar's magic. And most recently, of course, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, a nearly $300 million investment in one of cinema's most venerable franchises, which no longer appears to have the same hold on today's audiences. We'll get into that in just a minute. That all said, Disney still far outranks the competition in terms of market share this year, commanding 37% of the industry's revenues. Universal's close behind at 31%. But ticket sales for the films it has produced have been more earthbound, especially compared to the last pre-COVID year when Disney fielded a record 7 movies that crossed the $1 billion mark in 2019. Now, in many cases, reviews for recent releases haven't been standout, with critics being particularly scathing about Quantumania and openly questioning the need for a 5th indie adventure. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's like you can only go to the well so many times. I feel like they have to, and I know Elemental was original, but I blame Chapek and the whole moving it to Disney Plus shit for Pixar's failure. But the rest of it, I do kind of feel like you have to start coming with some more original stuff, right? Like, I mean...
Yeah, it is very interesting because, you named a lot of big franchises right there that are taking a lot of baths that Disney is not used to. So I mean, they're losing a lot of money in these past couple of years. Definitely to blame is that executive switch up, because obviously taking a Parks guy and putting him in charge of content and making these decisions. I mean, like we talked about on an interview that's going to come out in a couple of weeks, you have to be comfortable with knowing what you don't know and putting people in charge. But sometimes that doesn't happen. And this is what happens to these multimedia conglomerates. They start to lose money.
Yep.
Now, and speaking of indie, like you just mentioned, Disney's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, lassoed to the top spot on the domestic box office charts, though. Now, but it did collect an underwhelming $60 million in its opening weekend. Remember, we were predicting 65, so that's still 5 million shorter than what we were saying.
Yeah.
And a totaling of 82 million throughout the 4th of July holiday. Now, the film added 70 million at the international box office for a global start at 152 million. That's a decent amount of money for a tentpole that's aimed to older audiences. But Indiana Jones 5, one of the most expensive movies ever, cost about $295 million before marketing. Now, marketing itself is insane, but it's going to take a heroic feat, one that would test even the enduring legend like Indiana Jones for the 5th installment in decades-old franchise to become profitable in its theatrical run. And I just don't know if it's going to do it, to be honest, because I mean, you already saw that, you know, Flash, that one was huge for like budget wise, and then it's not making that movie. I think it's going to be in the same vein. That's just my opinion.
This thing definitely will not go profitable in its theatrical run. I think the goal now is to hope that they can at least break even. I don't even know if they'll get into the positive, but I think they're going to hope to break even when it hits streamers and pray to God people buy it. I think that's the only chance it's got to even break even. That said, I still think they're going to take a bath on it and have to write it off, but oh well.
I agree.
But that's okay because they did make some money this year. Avatar: The Way of the Water, James Cameron's long-awaited sequel to 2010's Avatar, took the #1 spot not only at the box office for a long period during this year, but apparently now on the Nielsen streaming top 10 during the June 5th to 11th viewing window. The movie arrived on both Max and Disney Plus, so that clearly helped, on June 7th and was watched, get this, for 1.9 billion minutes in its first 5 days of availability. Now, there's those tricky numbers again that the Writers Guild and the actors are stewing over in these contract negotiations. What does 1.9 billion minutes actually mean? And how much money did you make off of that? Because that's what they're arguing about. They can't get solid, real numbers. What the fuck does 1.9 billion minutes mean? Like, I don't even know. But hey, I guess it's big, right? I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
Exactly. Have you sat down and watched this 3-hour movie yet?
I cannot bring myself to do it. I can't.
I'm telling you, because you saw the first one. This one's better than the first one, in my opinion.
Oh, so, okay. All right.
Yeah, I will admit that. Another victim of Disney's cost cutting on the streaming front has emerged. Crater, a sci-fi adventure film about a group of children that hijacked a rover before a member of a group relocates to a new planet. Now, this one sounds interesting. The film, starring McKenna Grace and Isaiah Russell Bailey, with a featured role by the one and only Scott Miscuddy, a.k.a. Kid Cudi, drew mostly positive reviews around its debut on the streaming service on May 12th. Roughly 7 weeks later, Crater has been pulled from Disney Plus, and I bet we'll never be seen again.
No, and that's unfortunate because I like McKenna Grace, and if it did well, I guess it's costly. I guess, you know, what other reason are you pulling it? It just
I think so too.
Just doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't make sense. And this one I'm sad about, but it's happening, and it's just something we have to deal with. But we did get a little peek. FX has dropped the official trailer for the third and final season of Reservation Dogs. This season, the Res Dogs find themselves stranded in Cali and have to figure out their way back home. After making it back to Urkern, Allura considers the idea of college. Bear comes across conspiracy theorist named Maximus. Willie Jack grows more invested in healing her community, and Cheese, well, he still lives with his grandmother, who's not his grandmother. You guys know. Meanwhile, the aunties, uncles, and elders explore their pasts and try to heal old wounds. That all sounds like it's going to be at least a great final season. Season 3 of Reservation Dogs premieres August 2nd at FX on Hulu, so that's like right around the corner.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, and like we mentioned last week, that they are canceling this one. But I mean, since the season 1 premiere, the whole narrative has been them to get to California. And now that they see that California is not all it's cracked up to be, they're coming home. So hopefully, they were able to wrap it up in a nice little bow before it ended. Now, this one sucks. Both of these suck.
I know.
Because we're fans. Single Drunk Female and The Watchful Eye have both been canceled at Freeform. Now, season 2 of Single Drunk Female, which released back in April, picked up with Samantha Fink, who finally feels like she has a life worth celebrating now that she is a year and a half sober. And however, Sam quickly learns that sometimes life has other plans. She's forced to figure out how to affect change where she can, sit in her discomfort when she can't, and maybe even enjoy the ride. Sophia Black Idella, Ali Sheedy, Sasha Compreri, Lily Mae Harrington, Garrick Bernard, and Ian Gomez starred in this one. Now, Busy Phillips, Ricky Valles, Charlie Hall served as recurring guest with the season guest star of Molly Ringwald. So that one's that's so crazy. Of course, reuniting some Breakfast Club cast members. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
The Watchful Eye was canceled after just one season. The series followed Elena Santos, a young woman with a complicated past, maneuvering her way in the working as a live-in nanny for an affiliate family in Manhattan. She quickly learns that everyone in the mysterious building has deadly secrets and ulterior motives. What they don't know, however, is that Elena has some shocking secrets of her own. Marielle Moliano, Warren Christie, Amy Acker, John Ecker, Elia Royale, Lex Lumpkin, Henry Joseph Samiri, and Kelly Bishop all starred in that bad boy.
Yeah, that one sucks. I mean, it's got Mama Gilmore, Kelly Bishop, which, I mean, you love her.
Yeah.
And then Amy Acker. Amy Acker is like one of my all-time favorite actresses, and she just can't seem to catch a break lately, man. She's like Lucy Hale. Every show she's on just doesn't survive. I'm like, well, somebody give Amy Acker a show that makes it, man. Come on.
Please.
This next one, this one's exciting because I don't know if you're familiar with this family, but I am. This is like, they're fantastic. ESPN Films is working on a docuseries about the legendary Gracie family. Titled Gracie, the series will delve deep into the family's history and dissect how they became the founders of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which serves as a major cornerstone of modern mixed martial arts. The official description of the series states, featuring larger-than-life personalities, triumphs and tragedies, deep loyalties, passionate loves, and deadly feuds, Gracie will explore the essence of family, honor, legacy, and humanity's innate desire to fight. Told through the eyes of key Gracie family members, the series will dive deep into an epic family saga that takes audiences from Scotland and Japan to Brazil and America. Now, further details on the project will be announced at a later date. But if you guys aren't familiar with the Gracie family, they're the ones who basically started MMA and like what we're used to seeing in the rounds now and in the ring now. And these guys were like, it didn't matter how strong you were, if you could punch, if you could knock them out. If they got you in a hold, you submitted. These guys would get you and not let go, and they would have you on the mat, basically suffocating your ass until you tapped out or passed out. They were fucking hardcore scary. And I can't wait for this docuseries. I think it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for you to watch it because I think you're just going to be like, holy shit.
Yeah, that sounds really intense. And yeah, I'm all about UFC and MMA and all that stuff.
Oh, so, you're going to love
really cool.
it then. Yeah.
All right. Now we're hopping over to the bunny, Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, if you're a regular listener to this podcast, you know that we're not huge fans of Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav for many reasons. And this week, there's a new one to add to this list. Apparently, he's shady as fuck. Listen to this, and then we'll let you decide. Now, on July 3rd, GQ.com rolled out a hot take story titled How Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav Became Public Enemy #1 in Hollywood.
Facts.
Now, That piece, which was written by freelance film critic Jason Bailey and slams Zaslav as a Logan Roy-esque mogul, quickly disappeared from GQ's website, while a new one, more friendly version popped up with a separate URL. That version too vanished not long after, leaving readers very puzzled about this whole situation. Now, the question is, did a GQ's editor relationship with Warner Brothers play a big role in softening and ultimately removing the story altogether?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the GQ editor-in-chief, Will Welch, is producing a movie at Warner Brothers Discovery titled The Great Chinese Art Heist, which is based on 2018's GQ article by Alex W. Palmer. John M. Chu from Crazy Rich Asians is attached to direct and produce the film, which chronicles the Odysseus European Museum crime wave that targeted Chinese antiquities. Now, the project already has a script in place with Ken Chang, Jessica Go, Jimmy O. Yang. Now, sources say that Welch was involved in discussions surrounding the removal of Bailey's initial story and made the call to pull the revamped story as well, which ran some 500 words shorter than the original published version. Those same sources say Warner Brothers Discovery complained about the initial story to two GQ editors, one of whom was Welch. A representative for GQ said a piece published by GQ on Monday was not properly edited before going live. After a revision was published, the writer of the piece asked to have their blind removed, at which point GQ decided to unpublish the piece in question altogether. GQ regrets the editorial error that led the story being published before it was ready. Now, to be clear, as both of us coming from a news background, as you know, and as we know, removing an entire story from the news outlet's website would constitute an extreme action and is almost never done, except in the most egregious cases of journalistic malpractice. Even then, an editor's note would typically appear when the readers clicked on the exercise story with an explanation on why it was killed. Welch's involvement in the decision-making process would constitute a conflict of interest.
You think?
As a producer on a Warner Brothers movie in early development, Welch would meet the criteria of Society of Professional Journalism's Code of Ethics that says reporters and editors should avoid conflicts of interest, real, perceived, and disclosed avoidable conflicts. Furthermore, journalistic best practices dictate that stories never just disappear that have any significant corrections be noted with full transparency. A Warner Brothers Discovery source says no one at the corporate level was aware of Welch's ties to the movie studio.
Right.
But that just all sounds wild to me. I just
Yeah. Like I said, shady as fuck. Just our opinion, but come on. No one at the corporate level knew. So Zaslav, it's an article about Zaslav, slamming Zaslav and saying what a bad guy he is, and he didn't know that they were making a movie with this guy? Bullshit.
Right.
That's like two words for you, David. Man up. Okay, you got to have thick skin in this industry. You clearly don't belong in this fucking industry. Get out. Just get out, man. You're already tearing up Warner Brothers. You're already fucking things up. Just get out. If you can't handle it, get the fuck out. That's what
well,
I'm
I
saying.
think it speaks perfectly to the time that we're in with him and Warner Brothers Discovery. We're watching the 100 Years of Warner Brothers documentary series that's on Max right now, and I'm on the third episode, where damn it, I forgot his name again. The guy that was the CEO in the 80s.
Stephen Ross.
Stephen Ross,
Yes.
how he talked about how, it's important to make creatives feel like they're appreciated, that you want to make sure that they stay around for long periods of time. And even if they have a flop every once in a while, you still want them to know, hey, that's okay. We're still wanting to work with you. We're still good. This is your home. He was so infatuated with making it a home place for filmmakers. And that's why so many notable people like the Scorseses, like the Spielbergs, like the Kubricks stayed at Warner Brothers. But now with the CEO that's in there right now, it's just a whole different landscape. So I thought that would be a little interesting anecdote to throw in there coming from what Warner Brothers was built off of and where they are now. It's completely different.
And it makes me so mad that he's actually in this thing, like introducing shit. It's like, put the Falcon down, man, and get the fuck out of there.
I know.
No, it just made me so
exactly.
mad. And Stephen Ross, that's a reason why he was considered a master of the game. Master of the Game. It's a great book about Stephen Ross and his rise to the head of Warner Brothers and everything. Got to check that out if you haven't done it. I like how you plugged that. That was fantastic. Speaking of major fuck-ups by Zaslav, it appears that Ezra Miller's The Flash experiment is officially over. Though the film was meant to be the next DC blockbuster, it has failed to live up to expectations, and according to multiple sources, now, we have to say this hasn't been confirmed, but according to multiple sources, Warner Brothers is reportedly removing the film from as many as 1,500 screens this weekend, all but ending its theatrical run. Now, if true, it only makes sense. The film had a meager $64 million opening 4-day weekend, making it one of the worst domestic openings for DC. The film also experienced massive drops in attendance as the weeks have passed. Though Warner Brothers hoped it would go beyond its reported $300 million budget, no, not likely to hit that mark, not even come close. Now remember, this was a decision. Let's scrap Batgirl. Let's cut Keaton out of a bunch of shit, even though we signed him to a bunch of movies, and let's stick with The Flash.
Yeah.
Enough said. Enough said.
It's so bad, man. I mean, it's so unfortunate because it was a decent movie
It was, but they just could not overcome. I think the movie decent would have been epic had they replaced Ezra and then kept full on what they were trying to do, and had they let the ending be what they wanted the ending to be, which was Keaton and Supergirl in the end. But they didn't do that. That was a Zaslav write-off saying, no, we're changing it. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's wild. Well, trailers for the upcoming Barbie from director Greta Gerwig and Warner Brothers Pictures have led the decimation of the controversial map used in the film. One depicted in scene with Margot Robbie and Kate McKinnon. The childlike map and chalk scribbled dolphins and even a hashtag bombing around the Earth's vast bodies of water drew an ear over cinema gatekeepers in Vietnam last week. The draw depicts what has been called a representation of the 9 dash line, which reinforces China's territorial claim in the South China Sea. Vietnam disputes those claims and believes it violates the country's sovereignty, and officials subsequently pulled the release of Barbie in the territory. Now, the studio is speaking up days after the international headlines. They released a statement saying, quote, "The map in Barbie Land is a childlike crayon drawing," a spokesperson for Warner Brothers Film Group told Variety. "The doodles depict Barbie's make-believe journey from Barbie Land to the real world. It was not intended to make any sort of statement or anything like that." So that's a very interesting one. I really wasn't expecting that.
I got to tell you, though, I think that, you know how back in the day, Warner Brothers and Disney and all them, the animators would sneak in shit, pictures of dicks or nudity and, in the clouds and stuff. I think the production designer in here or whatever, they totally knew. They totally intended that to be the 9 dash line. And it was clearly a statement about Vietnam. They were hoping they were going to sneak that shit through and nobody would notice it because it's on a little cartoon drawing, chalk filled fill drawing or whatever. But come on. Are you really trying to tell me that wasn't intentional? I think it was intentional. Come on. You have to know about the line if you're even going to put it on the map. So it had to be intentional, because if you didn't know anything about it or the fight between Vietnam and the territory, then it wouldn't even be an issue on there. So that's all I'm saying. You had to have known. You had to have known. This is kind of exciting. I'm kind of pumped for this one. New Line Cinema has released the trailer for its latest Conjuring project, The Nun 2. The sequel, starring Taissa Farmiga, is set to premiere in theaters on September 8th. Now, the film begins in 1956 after a priest is viciously murdered in France. According to the film's official logline, The Nun 2 follows Sister Irene, which of course is played by Farmiga, and she once again comes face to face with the demonic Valak. Farmiga returns alongside Bonnie Aarons and Jonas Bloquet, who will reprise their roles as Valak and Maurice Frenchy, respectively. The Nun 2 will introduce new additions to the Conjuring universe, including Caitlin Rose Downey as Sophie, Anna Popplewell as Marcella, and Storm Reed as an unknown new character. Now, the $2 billion franchise began back in 2013 with the original The Conjuring film, starring Patrick Wilson and Taissa Farmiga's older sister, Vera Farmiga. The original film was inspired, if you didn't know, by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren's non-fiction book, The Amityville Horror. So not only did it inspire The Amityville Horror, but it also inspired The Conjuring. Who knew?
Right. I do feel like it's a very interesting thing, because we are really in a time of horror. Like, I just feel like there's a lot coming out right now, which is it's weird, because you normally think horror with Halloween, and I mean, they're putting them out everywhere.
Well, you know why? Because they're cheap to make and they make a lot of money. With the box office struggling, I'm feeling like, hey, what's a cheap movie we can plug out and make a big return? Horror.
It's true. It's true. Well, the Emmy-winning sketch series, A Black Lady Sketch Show, is ending after 4 seasons on HBO. Now, debuting in 2019, A Black Lady Sketch Show poked fun at modern life and pop culture while highlighting the talents of its Black female cast. Season 4 wrapped up in May. Now, bringing the show's total episodes to a count of 24. Across its first 3 seasons, A Black Lady Sketch Show has earned 13 Emmy nominations with 3 wins. So, I mean, I would say it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I think so. But, a lot of the main cast has already left and moved on to other things, and they weren't coming back. And so it kind of makes sense. But, yeah, it's sad still to see it go. I think it was a good show and had good messages, and it was funny as shit. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. Check it out. All right, jumping over to Paramount, as if we need anybody to tell us how awesome Tom Cruise is. Well, if you weren't sure, they're going to put out a video to tell you. Paramount Pictures released a video that has gone viral due to the thrilling actions of Tom Cruise. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 will shortly be released, as you guys know, and the producers have released its supercut. The 10-minute long video has impressive chase scenes performed by Tom. It includes vehicle explosions, helicopter missiles, running on a building, running across an airport, and jumping into the wings of a military plane. Sounds like Tom. Just another day. The video shows that it may be the 7th Mission Impossible movie, but the stamina of Tom Cruise has not come down in 27 years. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 is expected to hit the theaters on July 14th, with its sequel following later on that year. Yeah, there's a reason why this guy says he wants to keep doing it at 80. Like, yeah, I mean,
that was an interesting report that came out. I was just like, what? He's going to literally be the next Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Like, he's just doing this shit.
You go, Tom.
Yeah. Do you, bro?
That's
do
right.
You?
I'm telling you, at some point down the line, the trades and maybe even us, if God willing, we're still doing this, is the story's going to be he died doing a stunt. I really think that's going to happen. He died while doing a stunt, and he would have gone out the way he wanted to. I mean, I think that's going to happen.
I think you're probably right. Like, it's kind of wild.
It is.
This next one I'm very, very interested on.
Yeah, man.
And it looks really good, to be honest.
It does.
Paramount has released the first trailer for Bob Marley's One Love. Now, this one's going to be a biopic starring Kingsley Ben-Adir, who is everywhere right now. Yeah. And he's going to highlight the life and legacy of the late reggae icon. Audiences first catch a first glimpse at the varying stages of Marley's life throughout the trailer, leading back to his beginnings in Jamaica all the way to his rise to global fame. Glimpses of Marley performing on stage to the singers relaxing with his family paint a picture of his life. The trailer, too, sets the scene for Marley's assassination as well, or assassination attempt, which he did survive.
I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you telling me?
Like, hold on. By the end, viewers are left with a parting phrase: one love, one heart, one destiny. Ben Adir stars as Marley alongside Lashana Lynch,
Fantastic.
who plays the wife, Rita Marley. Now, King Richard director Ronaldo Marcus Green helmed the biopic, which Zach Balin, Frank E. Flowers, and Terrence Winter wrote the screenplay. Notably, Marley's son, Ziggy Marley, joins the project as a producer as well. Bob Marley, One Love is set to debut in theaters on January 12th of 2024. I think this is going to be really freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so far, all these music biopics have hit. They've been pretty successful at the box office, with the exception, I think, of really the Whitney one. But, I don't know. I think that one was rushed and maybe not done properly. But for the most part, these things have hit. And I think Bob Marley's always been a fascinating character for people. They've always kind of been drawn to him. So, I agree with you. I think this one's going to do really well. All right, jumping over to NBC Universal. Dun dun, there's a shakeup. Universal film chief Donna Langley is set to take control of content and creative ops across NBC Universal's portfolio of brands. Why? Because TV chief Susan Rovner has exited the company. The shakeup in leadership is the first major restructuring move made by Comcast president Mike Cavanaugh since he took direct oversight of the subsidiary NBCU upon the ousting of CEO Jeff Shell in April. Now, in a memo to the staff this week, Cavanaugh announced NBC Universal will be reorganized into 4 key units. NBC Universal Studio Group, led by Langley, NBC Universal Media Group, run by Chairman of TV and Streaming Mark Lazarus, NBCU News Group, run by existing news boss Cesar Conde, and the Universal Destinations and Experiences Group, headed up by Parks boss Mark Woodbury. Now, Langley is a pedigreed film executive known for deep filmmaker relationships. It's funny, you were just talking about Stephen Ross with that very thing, deep filmmaker relationships, and a long-term vision in building original tentpole IP. She currently serves as chair of the Universal Filmed Entertainment Group, a title she earned in 2019. She previously served as chairman of Universal Pictures, a role she held for more than a decade to great effect, offering up blockbusters like Jurassic World and building out top-earning Fast and Furious franchise. She's known for attracting repeat business, as evidenced by large stable of creative first look and overall deals that currently live at Universal Pictures, including those for Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, LeBron James and Maverick Carter's Spring Hill, and PAX with Charlize Theron and Elizabeth Banks. So this woman clearly knows how to get it done, and it makes sense that they're upping her and putting her in the position.
It really does. And I mean, if you listen to the show, that this is why we provide you with the knowledge. You get all of this information every single week because there's so many executive changes that happen all the time. Yeah. And you'll notice they bounce around from studio to studio. So it's very important to keep on top of where these people are going. Because they do perform their duties very differently from other people. So as you can tell from Zaslav.
For sure. And you're right, though. It just goes back to what you were saying about Stephen Ross and stuff. And now with Langley, cultivating relationships. It's so incredibly important in this industry about cultivating relationships and maintaining those relationships on good standing. Because if you don't, you can really burn yourself in this industry.
You really can. And I mean, it's kind of terrifying because once you burn that bridge, a lot of times in this industry like that, that's it.
Yeah,
like
you don't get second chances.
It's really hard to go back from that. But something I'm really excited about and I've been waiting on, nobody else will watch it with me, but I hear it's freaking great. The Super Mario Brothers movie is officially making its way to Peacock on August 3rd. fans will also get treated to bonus content when the blockbuster animated film arrives on Peacock, including behind-the-scenes interviews with the voice cast and the immersed video field guide and a lucrative Peaches lyrical video. That thing went freaking viral. The film is coming to streaming after achieving smashing success at the box office earlier this year. Notably, the film debuted with the biggest opening weekend of the year and earned $204 million in the first 5 days of the release. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It also became the film's first to cross the $1 billion mark in the 2023 fiscal year and has earned $1.3 billion worldwide to date. Now, the Super Mario Brothers movie stands as the highest grossing movie adapted from a video game and the second biggest animated film in history, only behind Frozen 2. So, I mean, it's in good company.
Yeah, I'd say so. And with that type of success, you can guarantee more animated films based on video games are coming.
Exactly.
You gotta know. You gotta know. Hey, Warwick Davis, remember him? Willow got canceled at Disney Plus. Well, don't worry about Warwick. He's fine because he's apparently got an animated series where he's the lead called Marley, which has been picked up by Peacock for its U.S. launch. Now, the show, which also stars Gemma Arterton from The Prince of Persia, Jessica Henwick, oh, I love her from Iron Fist, Glass Onion and A Knives Out mystery, of course, Julie Walters from Harry Potter, Richard E. Grant from Loki, and Stanley Tucci from The Devil Wears Prada, is produced by Two Daughters Entertainment. Now, what's it about? Well, Marley follows an optimistic young mole, played by Davis, who lives in a mole town, a secret city buried deep under Windsor Castle in England. With his charming manner and magic book, the adventurous Marley finds himself on a new caper in each episode and often gets himself into a pickle. Luckily, his friends Mona Lisa and Dottie are there to help, accompanied by Uncle Mimosh and Mom Mrs. Mole. The show will launch on Peacock on July 7th. Well, today. Fantastic. And all 52 episodes of the first season are dropping at once today. So, I don't know. That sounds interesting. It sounds like it could be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, heading over to Sony, the biggest thing that's opening this weekend is Insidious, The Red Door. Now, that one scared up about 5 million in Thursday night screenings, a strong start for the moderately priced horror flick. It was also nearly enough to displace Indiana Jones 5 Dial of Destiny, which made 5.2 million on the same day. Now, Indy may still top the box office in its second weekend, but Insidious The Red Door is proving to be more competitive than some thought. Now, the latest installment in the long-running horror franchise is expected to net about 25 million during its debut weekend, so we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think it'll do well. Like I said, horror is a big thing right now.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely keep an eye on that because, I don't think Indy's guaranteed a second week at the top. I think Insidious might take it. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Maybe Indy's on top, and then the revised actual numbers will come out Monday, and we'll see it flip. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Meanwhile, one we do know for sure is a kick-ass film and doing huge. Sony's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse continued its impressive run at the box office with another $11.6 million in its fifth weekend of release. Spider-Verse has now generated $340 million at the domestic box office and crossed the $600 million mark in global ticket sales. So well on its way, man. It's already profitable, no doubt. And it only makes sense. That movie kicks ass. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, Seth Rogen is teasing the Sausage Party sequel series and talking about an unbelievably shocking scene that even caught co-star Kristen Wiig off guard.
Of course.
He's, quote, "You should all just start wrapping your heads around this now. You'll probably have to talk about this a lot." Now, Sausage Party is a 2016 R-rated animated film by Conrad Vernon and Greg Tyrion, with the story by Rogen and Evan Goldberg and Jonah Hill. The film follows an animatronic sausage who lives in a supermarket and finds the truth about what happens when the groceries are purchased. Amazon's sequel spinoff, The Sausage Party of Foodtopia, is slated to be released in 2024, with Rogan and Wig returning. Other actors joining the voice class include Will Forte, Sam Richardson, Natasha Rothwell, and Yasir Lester. So that's all exciting.
Oh yeah, I mean the movie was hilarious. It was crude and like out there, and probably do not show it to your kids, but it was fucking hilarious. So I'm kind of excited about this show, and now I definitely my interest is up. Is okay, what's the scene, right? Like what's the scene that if you can get Kristen Wiig frazzled, it's got to be something intense, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to Amazon MGM, and Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan appears to have been a fan favorite over the July 4th weekend. The first 2 episodes of Season 4 debuted on Amazon Prime on June 30th, and since then, the premiere captured 1.2 million U.S. households, according to Live Plus 5-day data. Episode 2 was watched by about 946,000 households during the same window. And again, we'll go back to, what does that mean?
Yeah.
How many people is that? How much money was that? We don't know.
We don't know. It's just there. Well, The Lady and the Tramp are getting some competition from Grant Gustin and Lucy Hale's Doggies in the first trailer of the Freevee original movie Puppy Love, premiering Friday, August 18th on Amazon's ad-supported streaming platform. The flick centers on the wild child Nicole and the socially anxious Max. According to the official logline, after a disastrous first date, Nicole and Max vow to lose each other's number until they learn that their dogs have found love each other. Oh my gosh. And now we have puppies on the way. The hilariously mismatched Nicole and Max are forced to become responsible co-parents, but may end up finding love themselves. Now, Jane Seymour, Michael Hitchcock, and Nora Davis all co-star in this thing. In addition to streaming on Freevee, Puppy Love is available to rent or own digitally on its day of release. So there you go.
That sounds like a quirky Hallmark movie,
it does.
Right? Like, oh, here's the dilemma: they hate each other, but now they fall in love because of their dogs. I mean, I'm really hoping though. You guys know, huge Grant Gustin fan, Flash for all those years, obviously, and we love and adore Lucy Hale. Again, we're talking about, can this woman get something that sticks and is successful? I'm hoping this is the one. It sounds adorable. So
yeah.
All right, let's jump on over to Netflix, where I love this story. It had to be included. And of course, I have ups and downs about this, and I'll tell you why after I read it. But Netflix is set to captivate sports fans and documentary enthusiasts once again with its latest project. According to a recent report, the streaming giant has secured the rights to produce a compelling 10-part docuseries centered around Jerry Jones and the legendary 1990s Dallas Cowboys. Now, while the deal has yet to be finalized, rumors suggest that Netflix is paying a staggering $50 million for the rights to this highly anticipated series. If successful, the documentary will shed light on the triumphs, controversies, and untold stories surrounding America's team. Now, the 1990s were a remarkable era for the Dallas Cowboys, characterized by their on-field triumphs and off-field controversies. Led by the iconic triplets, of course, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith, the Cowboys clinched 3 Super Bowl victories in just 4 years, 92, 93, and 95. However, their path to greatness was not without its fair share of obstacles and controversies. The upcoming docuseries aims to provide an unprecedented look into the team's journey, uncovering the untold stories behind their remarkable success and the scandals that plague their dynasty. One of the most intriguing aspects of this docuseries is the promise of previously unseen interviews with key figures from the 90s Cowboys teams. Viewers can expect exclusive insight and first-hand accounts from the legendary players themselves, such as Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith. Now, these intimate interviews will provide a unique perspective on the team's triumphs, struggles, and the camaraderie that define their extraordinary bond. And to this day, still does, actually. But my thing is, I'm super excited about this, but I'm also kind kind of bummed because, of course, it's about the '90s team because they haven't done fuck since. Like they're like they were so dominant. But I'm just like, we have to do a docuseries about the '90s because we couldn't possibly do one of them about now because they fucking sucked for the last 20-something years. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I'm a fan. I'm all in. I'm gonna be watching it. I'm curious to see how they're gonna address the Jimmy Jones. Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones thing about the firing and how they brought in Barry Switzer. Because 3 out of 4 years, they could have won 4 and been the first team to win 4 in a row, but they fucked that up by getting rid of Jimmy Johnson. And I'm curious to see how Jerry Jones explains that. They've kind of mended. Sure. They've kind of mended lately. They're talking. They're buddy again. But we'll see.
Let's lower that blood pressure. Let's lower that blood pressure. Oh my goodness. Well, exciting things happening for people who have Netflix. Insecure is now officially available to stream on Netflix. The first HBO original to launch on the streamer under the new licensing deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. We first told you about this a couple weeks ago that Warner Brothers Discovery was in talks to license some of their original shows to Netflix. In addition, the streamer has confirmed that the Band of Brothers, the Pacific, 6 Feet Under, and Ballers will be coming to the service at a later date. Now, True Blood, which also currently streams on Hulu, will be available on Netflix. Subscribers outside of the U.S., all of their shows remain available on the platform Max, formerly known as HBO Max, as well. The deal marks the latest shift in the content strategy at Warner Brothers Discovery under the David Zaslav regime. Now, in January, Warner Brothers Discovery made licensing moves by partnering with Roku and Tubi to launch free ad-supported channels with HBO shows. The FAST channels include all seasons of shows like The Westworld, Raised by Wolves, Legendary, F-Boy Island, The Nevers, Finding Magic Mike, Head of the Class, The Time Traveler's Wife, and more. Now, in 2014, HBO and Amazon reached an exclusive licensing deal to stream shows like The Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, True Blood, and more on Amazon Prime Video. I don't understand.
So, why is Max not making money? Because you're putting all the shows on another streamer. I don't understand. I get it. Okay, you're getting a licensing fee, so you're making some money. But if you want to lure people to Max, to watch Max, you got to have your content on Max. What the fuck? This is just another dumbass move. It's like you got to weigh. Are you going to make upfront money quickly by licensing it? Sure. But the long-term goal, look at the long-term goal. You want people to come to Max. And those are fucking awesome shows that would bring people to Max. What's he going to do? License Friends back to Netflix? That, what the fuck?
We've talked about this. We don't think Zaslav is in it for the long haul. So it makes sense.
He's trying to sell off Warner Brothers. It's clear as day. He just wants Discovery. And he's going to make it Discovery and then by selling off all of Warner Brothers piece by piece by piece. That's what he seems to be doing, and it's fucking ridiculous. I can't even imagine a world without Warner Brothers.
I know.
What?
It's kind of crazy.
100 years, like you said at the top of the show. 100 years. Now we're not going to have him, because that's where he's headed. Somebody please come in and buy Warner Brothers. Please. Just offer Zaslav some money. You say you want all of Warner Brothers shit. Just sell it to me. That's what. Somebody, please. Please.
Please.
Okay. Oh, Sex Education is me! Hi!
It
Sex
is.
Education will now end with the upcoming season 4 at Netflix. That's okay, they got plenty of Warner Brothers shit. The final season of the popular series will debut on the streamer on September 21st. Netflix has also released the first teaser trailer for the new season. Now, ending the show with the new season seemed almost inevitable, as a number of the cast members had previously revealed they're not coming back. Those included Simone Ashley, who played Olivia, Tanya Reynolds, and Patricia Allison. Now, furthermore, Nakuti Gatwa, who broke out as Eric Effiong on the series, is taking over the title role in the hit British series Doctor Who, though he will still appear in season 4 of Sex Education for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that if you're going to be Doctor Who, because I feel like Doctor Who demands full. attention. That's all I'm saying.
For sure. I knew once you were going on that rant, I was like, he's not going to remember who's next. He's not.
Ooh, this next one's so controversy, though. This one's you. Ooh.
Candace Cameron Bure is pushing back against an accusation that she asked for a queer character to be removed from Fuller House, the Full House sequel, now series that aired 5 seasons and 75 episodes on Netflix between 2016 and 2020. Miss Benny, the current star of Netflix's Glamorous, appeared in 2 episodes of Fuller House, season 4 as Casey, the franchise's first openly queer character. Now, Miss Benny recently posted a TikTok that heavily implied that Bure was homophobic behind the scenes of Fuller House. Although Miss Benny never mentioned Bure by name, her accompanying hashtag led viewers to believe it was Bure she was talking about in this TikTok. Bure released a statement denying the accusation, reading, quote, "I never asked Miss Benny's character to be removed from Fuller House and did not ask the writers, producers, or studio executives to not have a queer character on the show." Now, Fuller House has always welcomed a wide range of characters. I thought Miss Benny did a great job. This is still a quote. I thought Miss Benny did a great job as Casey on the show. We didn't share any scenes together, so we didn't really get a chance to talk much while filming on set. Now, I wish Miss Benny only the best. Now, you might remember us discussing last year when Bure found herself at the center of controversy after telling Wall Street Journal magazine that the Great American Family Network would keep traditional marriage at its core of its Christmas movies, which many implied as Bure saying that the channel would not feature LGBTQ couples. Now, Bure left her former home at Hallmark Channel for GAF, where she serves as our chief creative officer. So all of the things, guys, all of the things, just let love be love. Goodness gracious.
And I mean, look, I have no idea. I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. I don't know anybody that knows her to tell me enough information. But if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, might be a duck. Just saying.
Might be a duck.
Just saying. You know, once, okay, you blow it off. She was misquoted or misunderstood. Twice, but it seems like she keeps making those type things, and then you gotta start questioning whether it's accurate or not. Just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Just saying. Come on the show and talk to us, Candace.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We are open and fair here. Come on, let's have the conversation. We love to start conversations. Let's jump over to Apple. Plenty of conversation at Apple and plenty of money. $3 trillion, y'all. What the fuck? Apple has released the second trailer for Martin Scorsese's Killer of the Flower Moon, starring Leo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone in one of the year's buzziest films. Gotta love anything that's got Leo and Bobby, right? Killers of the Flower Moon marks Scorsese's first narrative feature since the 2019 film The Irishman. The Apple original film has set its wide theatrical release for October 20th and will subsequently stream on Apple TV+. Now, Killers of the Flower Moon is based on David Grant's nonfiction novel of the same name, which investigates the dozens of harrowing murders of Osage people in Oklahoma throughout the 1920s. Scorsese's film and Grant's book follow the romance of Ernest Buckhart, played by Leo, and Molly Kayo, played by Gladstone, in the immense wealth of one Native American nation. I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be great. Like I said, it's Scorsese, it's Bobby, it's Leo. How can it be bad? I mean, it can't be bad.
I know it's the track record recently is not great, but I'm really hoping.
I know, but hey, let's hold true.
I know. I'm excited for it too. We have some really inspiring people who are filmmakers that we look up to coming out with these movies. But again, like the track records recently have not been great, like with Tenet and with The Irishman. So it's like, but at the same time, really excited for this one and really excited for Oppenheimer. So take that with what you will.
Please go see Oppenheimer. Please go see it.
Yeah.
Like and I don't like what's all the bullshit on social media about the battle between Barbie and Oppenheimer. Just like, do we need that? Just go see both. If you want to see both, go see both. Do we need it to be a battle? Like,
I think it's like I think it's for people to go see more. I actually like it. I think it's going to be
trying
like
to get them
driving
to go
people
see.
to go see both. Yeah, I think it's good for the younger audiences to try to get more engagement, to be like, okay, just go to the theaters, because that's the biggest problem. The younger audiences is not going to the theaters.
Well, okay, but let's be clear about one thing. Both of those movies will not be seen in the Asian region because
Yeah.
the map controversy from Barbie has fucked it over in Vietnam in that region. And are we really going to show Oppenheimer to Japan? I'm pretty sure the Japanese people do not want to be reminded of the worst fucking day in their country's life. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm fairly certain if it shows in Japan, I'll be shocked. I would be shocked. I'm just saying.
Same.
Like,
Now, according to multiple sources, High Desert has not received an order for a second season at the streamer Apple TV. Now, representatives from Apple TV were not immediately available to comment. High Desert premiered its first 3 episodes of season 1 back in on May 17th, releasing a new episode with each subsequent Wednesday before concluding with the finale on June 21st. Now, Arquette starred as Peggy Newman, a drug addict who turned a new leaf by escorting to the Yucca Valley Desert to be a private eye investigator. Yeah. So that's a very interesting complex. I'm not necessarily sure it will get a second season. No. That one, I haven't even heard of it before this story. So
well, and you know, it's odd. Patricia Arquette is another one who's like ridiculously talented, but lately has not been able to find anything to catch. Like it's amazing to me how many talented actors and actresses are out there that just their streak of luck has been awful lately. It's just, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. It does suck. It does suck. Well, something that does not suck is our guest interview. Ashley Alexander coming on the show to talk about just the entertainment industry in general, promote a few projects, talk about a few different things that she's been up to. And man, what a lovely soul. You guys are going to love this.
Oh, literally her smile and her just enthusiasm is infectious. The whole time we're talking to her, you can't help but smile the whole interview because she's just so bubbly and just so happy and just so positive. It's like so fun to listen to, and you guys are just gonna love this, and you're gonna end it smiling. I guarantee it.
Like that is for sure. That's for sure. Well, here she is. Oh man. I'm just saying, guys, for all you YouTube extra content, I got a new chair and it's nice.
Yes.
It's definitely
they're comfy, right? Like
definitely helpful on the bum. Yeah, this I mean, Habitat for Humanity store was doing like an office chair $10 type thing. So we went and got Emily like some classroom chairs and got myself one. I was like, shit, yeah, let's take advantage of that $30 for 3 really nice chairs. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, you can't beat that. Can't beat that.
No, really it's not.
Way cheaper than mine.
Yeah, I know. Damn it, because you get the top of the line. It's so funny.
But I got a little bit more cushion to sit in it, so it's all right. It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. But I'm very curious too. What are you gonna see? Any movies this weekend?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna finish the Warner Brothers docuseries.
I'm on the 3rd episode.
Thoroughly enjoying that. And how awesome was fucking Steve Ross, right? You're talking about a guy that was there for Superman, and ended his tenure with Keaton's Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, hello, the guy was pretty fucking awesome. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I didn't realize that Batman was so monumental for the Time Warner fucking merger between Warner Brothers and Time. Like, I didn't realize that was so that film was so important.
Oh, without that. And at that time, it was like one of the biggest blockbusters of all time. Like, it had, if I remember correctly, like an $85 million opening weekend, which at the time was unheard of. It was huge, like the biggest thing ever. Remember, Spider-Man was the first film to ever crack $100 million over the weekend. But at that time, the 89 Batman was like the biggest opening ever. And everybody was like, oh my God. It was significantly important in the merger. And then that whole story, for anybody that's really unfamiliar, I mean, Steve Ross walked away from that at the right time because Jerry Levin, with Time, basically kind of screwed Stephen Ross and the guys at Warner Brothers, took it in, made Time Warner, and then teamed up with Steve Case from AOL, fucked Ted Turner in the ass and stole everything from him with a promise that he would be the biggest shareholder and that everything would stay intact. That did not happen. He was the biggest shareholder, but nothing stayed intact. Everything was destroyed. And then finally, it got shifted all the way back around to Warner Brothers again. But the whole Time Warner AOL disaster was, oh my God, dude, it was so bad. And Stephen Ross got out of that shit just in fucking time.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that it's a great telling of like the business side. I think that's really like special they're doing.
So they've gotten into Jerry Levin already, right? From Time.
I think so. Yeah. Well, they're right now they're talking about how they're about to merge.
Yeah.
And I haven't finished the third episode, so they're talking about that. And I think it was so awesome that they had a big celebratory thing that I didn't know that their Burbank lot was also with Sony for so many years, but then they were finally able to get out of that because of those two producers going to Sony and Columbia. So I thought that was so epic.
There was a lot of mergers, non-mergers throughout their history there, you know, like, it's one of those weird things. And yet Warner Brothers always survived. So David,
just saying.
A lot of mergers have happened, but Warner Brothers survived. So we've got Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's have Warner Brothers survive.
Yes, just saying. Exactly. Yeah, I think this weekend I'm actually going to watch Babylon. I almost started it last night, but it was like 10 o'clock, and I was like, I'm not trying to like go to sleep at like 1 o'clock in the morning. But literally the first sequence, I had to stop it after this because it was just so wild. But literally the first sequence is them trying to push a car, like nobody notable, like nobody that I know is important to the story yet, but they're trying to push a car up a hill with an elephant in it, and then the elephant shits all over them. Like, it's so random, and I feel like that's what this movie is going to be throughout. But I've heard like it is a love letter to the entertainment industry, so really only entertainers are going to love this movie.
And it's weird because I feel like La La Land also was that and was like huge. And then same guy, Damien Chazelle, right? Awesome cast, but this one not so much. So it's weird, right? Like how I don't know. It's definitely, I got to check it out though because Marley.
I'll have to let you know. Yeah, I'll have to let you know when I'm going to watch it on Sunday. So I'll let you know what I think.
You know me, I'll watch anything Margot's in, so.
Oh yeah, I'll watch anything Brad's in.
No, there. There you go.
So funny. All right, guys. Enough of our chit chatter. We'll get back to the show and talk about how crazy we are with serial killers. All right. All right, now it is time for the top 5 segment, man. And this week, it's very interesting. We teased it at the top of the show. We promise you we're not psychotic, but it is top 5. Or are we? Top 5 serial killer films.
Yes.
This one was very interesting, and I tried to be a little loose with it, so you'll see on my first 2 picks. My number 5 goes to Sherlock Holmes. You want to know why? Because the villain in RDJ's Sherlock Holmes, the first one, is a serial killer. He's going around London just killing a whole bunch of people.
It's true.
But I think this was a good introduction to Sherlock Holmes, which is like, everybody's been so fascinated with this character for so long, going back to the books and the stories like in the 1800s, and then RDJ comes along, Jude Law comes along. I feel like their dynamic is so freaking amazing. But yeah, I really love their interpretation of it. I hope a third one does get made. There's been rumors about it for so long. But honestly, I prefer the second Sherlock Holmes over the first Sherlock Holmes. I don't know why. Very, very interesting complex there, but but overall I love the franchise. I love what they're doing, and again, I hope for the third one. But number 5 for me is Sherlock Holmes, RDJ's version.
There you go. Admittedly, I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one, so I need to watch the second one. I think
for
that's,
sure.
That's gonna be good. And then I'm sitting here the whole time we're talking, and you're leading and everything, and I'm just thinking to myself and laughing like, What a great guest interview to lead into this when we're talking about how she's just dying to play an evil character and that we're going to write her somebody evil and a villain. It's like, you want to play a serial killer? It's like, there was the perfect transition into this thing. I'm a little, and then I'm also thinking about myself and how, like, maybe weird I am, because I really like my 5 movies that I picked. They're like all some of my favorite movies. And what does that say about me? I don't know. My number 5 is extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile. The Zac-Efron film star about Ted Bundy. I thought it was brilliantly done. It's based on the Ted Bundy tapes. And Zac-Efron, if you're going to pick a guy that's like, you know, good looking and charismatic and easily fallen for, right? Zach was the perfect guy to play Ted Bundy, because that's how everybody described Ted Bundy. Just this good looking, charismatic, charming guy that everybody fell for. But a fucking psychopath. But yeah, this one I thought was, like I said, based on the tapes, but I thought it did a really good job of diving past the tapes and giving you a little bit more of, and in some eerie, creepy ways, kind of made you feel sad for him or sympathetic towards him, right? Like, you know, and I guess that's what you have to do with any of these type movies, right? You have to have the audience feel sort of sympathy for these guys, because they're freaking psychotic killers, and you don't want them turning it off after the first 5 minutes. So you've got to find a way to make these people appealing, if you will. Yeah, this is
kind of sad.
It is kind of sad, but I mean, you know, but to his credit, Zach did an amazing job, and the film was really good. And I would watch them as companion pieces. I would say, because the guy that did the documentary of the Ted Bundy tapes, it did the film also, and so I would watch them as a companion type thing. Watch the film and then listen to the tapes, the real life tapes, and yeah, it's scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking scary, man. But hey,
oh my goodness. Number 4 for me goes to The Batman. You're like, what? Serial killer movies? Well, if you think about it, the antagonist, the Riddler, Paul Dano's character, is a serial killer.
Yes,
and it's a very like honed into reality type of film, so that's why it goes on the list. But I mean, this was something we've really never seen before when it comes to our superhero movies. Of course, there's always that lightheartedness. The color tones are different, but this just feels like a hardcore Gotham, dark, edgy serial killer, like dealing with politics, like all of these different things. This movie was so set in reality that, like I said, it's never really been done like this before. That's why it's so special, and that's why Paul Dano's version of the Riddler is so special, because this could happen in nowadays life. You know, people could go on their spree to where like people end up dead. And I just, you know, what they did with this film, Matt Reeves, that was just absolutely amazing. So that's why I had to put it on my list. I mean, it's so good. I almost watched that one last night too.
yeah. I want to rewatch that one myself. It's so funny because that kind of plays into my number 4 also. Man, I agree with you. I like it. It was very much a noir detective film. Everybody forgets that Batman is the world's greatest detective. And this was him literally figuring out clues being left by a serial killer to try to clue you in on who he was and why he was doing it, which I thought was brilliant. I fucking loved it from start to finish. And then that brings me to my number 4, which is exactly that, but unfortunately was real. My number 4 is Zodiac. And the Zodiac Killer was, if I'm not mistaken, from like the late 60s all the way to the early 80s. And like the biggest, most famous unsolved serial killer crime in American history. Eventually they did finally figure it out. But this guy was terrorizing California, killing people, like I said, from like the late 60s through the early 80s. And what made it so unusual is that he sent 3 huge newspapers at the time this encrypted letter with like code, like an old Egyptian code type thing or whatever, that literally had clues in it that if you could decipher the encryption, it told you who he was and where to find him. And these reporters and these people were like, this one reporter that's played by Robert Downey Jr. So that, let me get into it. First of all, the cast. You got Mark Ruffalo, Gyllenhaal, oh my God, Mark Ruffalo, Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr. Like, I can't even, like, every A-lister that you can think of was in this movie, and they were all just phenomenal. But there's this character that he becomes like a raging alcoholic, obsessive with trying to figure out these clues and figure out who this guy is. And yeah, it was a brilliant movie. It was a brilliant movie. But yeah, I don't know any other way to say it, but talk about terrifying, right? Because everything nowadays is like encrypted and like, you know, this idea that you could just tease law enforcement for nearly 20 years and nobody could fucking figure it out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you need Batman. Like, shit. Like,
it is really crazy. Brian Cox, Anthony Edwards, John Carroll Lynch.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, just this Candy Clark, like June Diane Raphael, like, I mean, Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, this whole cast, like, you line them up, they're in there, and they are all brilliant. They're, I think, like, they all give like Oscar-worthy performances. I shit you not. It's like that good of a film. And it was obscure. I had never heard of it. I was just flipping through like HBO Max one time and saw it. And I'm like, what the fuck is this with all these people in it? Then I watch it and I'm like, holy shit, how did I not hear about this when it was out in theaters? Like it was just amazing. But yeah, number 4 for me, Zodiac.
Love it. Number 3 for me, I feel like is it's a cult classic, definitely a guilty pleasure, I feel like, but it's the Scream franchise. Come on. I mean, who doesn't love the Scream franchise? Of course, you got some little ones in the middle there, but I mean, what they're doing nowadays with Jenna Ortega and all the new cast members that they're bringing into it, I feel like it's very special, and it's giving a new look at horror when we are in the age of horror. So I just think it's a whole lot of fun. It is very serial killer-esque, and they normally always get the killer right in that first line of dialogue or in that first monologue. You know what I'm talking about, where they're all sitting down, where it's like, it has to be one of you. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, you can put on any of these movies and watch them. They're so fun.
No, it's hilarious because they do tell you who the killer is every time. They tell you who it is. And what I like about this, though, it reminds me of another serial killer movie that didn't make the list, but it was with Harry Connick Jr. called Copycat. Because Scream's serial killers they're copycat killers. They're each Scream killer is a different person copycatting the original Scream killer, and so it's a very interesting cycle of serial killers that are copycats. And it's an interesting look to put on the list because it isn't serial killers, but then a different take for sure.
Yeah.
My number 3. You can't be my age and not put this one on the list. I mean, you pretty much have to be any age and put this one on the list. And I'm talking, of course, about Silence of the Lambs. Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster. I mean, fuck. If you weren't terrorized by Hannibal Lecter, like, what the fuck? I mean, this was one of the most terrifying psychological thrillers, like, in decades to hit the screens. It left you thinking, and it left you scared that there are people, because it's based on a true story, and that like there are people, cannibal serial killers, not just a serial killer, but cannibal, eating you and shit, like Jeffrey Dahmer and shit, like, you know.
Yeah.
That's terrifying that people like that exist in the world. And this movie, the way he fucked with Jodie Foster's Clarissa, you know, the FBI agent, the way he fucked with her and just like had her completely under his control, even though he's wearing this like freaking mask and he's behind this glass thing and he's like, no way that he can get to her, and yet completely owned her. And that is terrifying. that is like the bone chilling serial killer shit that you don't want to go to sleep with. Like it's like thinking about that people like that exist. It's like, what the fuck? So yeah, it had to be on my list. Number 3, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's so funny. Number 2 for me is one that I feel like doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot. I'm really going through a big Kevin Costner phase, I guess, because of Yellowstone, going back and finishing season 5. But I love Mr. Brooks. Basically, he's this businessman who everybody looks up to in his established, I forget what like type of thing he's doing, but he's a serial killer and he targets like couples basically after they have sex. Like he watches them and then kills them, which is absolutely terrifying. But this one also has a very notable cast. I mean, you got like Demi Moore, obviously Kevin Costner, Dane Cook, William Hurt, like so many others. So it's definitely one that I feel like not a lot of people talk about anymore, because I mean it came out in 2007. But it's definitely one that I feel like people should go back and watch, especially nowadays with the storytelling aspect of it, because yes, there is a lot of horror, but I also feel like it's a lot of like a, I guess, supernatural horror type S, not like serial killer horror. So yeah, I really, really enjoy this one and definitely need to rewatch that one here soon. But yeah, number 2 for me, Mr. Brooks.
Well, there you go. And Mr. Brooks, I feel like, took a lot of story elements from my number 2, which in very similar, and you'll see why when I say my number 2, and this is the one I was like joking about at the top of this thing, because this is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I fucking love the character. I love it. It's like, and I don't know what that says about me, but here it is. American Psycho with Christian Bale. This is in the height of the 80s, the big 80s era of yuppies, young urban professionals, and he's an investment banker, extremely rich, and he gets off by killing people. That's his thing. Like by day he's an investment banker, at night he's a serial killer, and he takes pure joy in the death and pain and torture of people. He gets off on it. Like, that's his thing. Sexual, non-sexual, it's like that's his thing. In order to get high, to get feeling good about himself, to get that thing that he needs, he kills people for the joy. And he likes doing it, and he doesn't feel bad about it. There's no remorse. He's just literally pumped up to kill people. And yeah. It is, again, a terrifying, because nobody would know. This is a rich, successful investment banker, played brilliantly by Christian Bale. You think everything is perfect in his world. He's got the perfect apartment. He's got all the money. He's got the pretty girlfriend. He's got all these things. And he's not happy. He's miserable. And the only way he can be happy is to fucking torture and kill people. Like, yeah, it's just a great soundtrack, 80s soundtrack. I mean, come on, Huey Lewis in the News is just all. There's even a joke about, he asks, "You like Huey Lewis in the News?" It's one. Yeah, he's got some of the greatest quotes in movie history come from that movie, which again is terrifying but true. And yeah.
The Walking on Sunshine gets me every time.
Oh my gosh.
After a night of killing people, he comes into the office listening to a Walking on Sunshine.
Yes, it's so fucking brilliant. And for anybody who doesn't know, not just Christian Bale, but a young Reese Witherspoon is in that movie. Yeah, Reese Witherspoon, his girlfriend at one point, or prospective target at one point also. You got to check it out if you haven't seen it. And by all means, do not check out the sequel. No. Don't do that. It was with a female. It was Mia Kunis. She probably still regrets it to this day. Don't check out the sequel. It just, they tried to capitalize. It failed miserably. It was nowhere close to the original. But you cannot not watch the original. It's fucking brilliant film. From a filmmaking aspect, it's brilliant. And it's kind of creepy. It's creepy.
There you go.
But that's this list. Brilliant, but creepy.
Yeah, literally. So funny. Well, number 1 for me is a must-see film. If you guys haven't yet, I don't know what it says about Paul Dano, because he plays a fucking crazy, like really good serial killer type of person.
Yeah, he does.
But and then you look at him in The Fabelmans, and you're like, oh, he's actually a really good, nice dad. But I'm talking about Prisoners.
Yes.
Now, talk about the cast in this one. I think it's honestly one of Hugh Jackman's best films ever.
Oh, without doubt.
think it's one of Gyllenhaal's best performances ever. But I mean, come on. You have Viola Davis, you have Terrence Howard, you have Paul Dano, you have Melissa Leo. So many freaking people. Wayne Duvall. Like, oh my goodness. But just basically, if your child gets abducted and then the news comes out with this is who we think is doing these things, and then the dad just goes crazy. It's such a good movie, man. Like that one scene where like Hugh Jackman has a hammer and he's like freaking out, like, oh, it's amazing. Absolutely love it. And I feel like this is what any parent would do if he felt like he would have that suspected serial killer in his grasp, I guess you could say. But so good. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a solid 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb. It deserves more than that, in my opinion. But yeah, be sure to check it out. Prisoners, my number one.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant fucking movie, and I totally agree with you. One of my all-time favorite Hugh Jackman performances. And yeah, Gyllenhaal and Dano both, again, playing in these serial killer movies. But yeah, I mean, if you're a parent, you know. I can tell you right now, if anybody ever hurt my daughter, I would kill them. I would hunt them down and kill them. And if somebody told me who they were, fucking forget. Even worse, I'd be going right to it and doing it. Like, so I think that's why that movie worked so well, because every parent could connect to Hugh Jackman's character. Everybody could go, hey, yeah, that's me. I would do that in a heartbeat. And nobody would feel bad for me. And nobody would convict me. Right? Because that's the thing. Who's going to convict a guy that's killing somebody who killed their kid? Right? Like, I just, oh my gosh. Yeah, so good. All right. My number one, maybe the most successful of all serial killer movies ever.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because of the question, what's in the box, man?
Facts.
I'm talking about Seven. Morgan Freeman. And your boy Brad Pitt, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Of course.
And Kevin Spacey, who, by the way, never credited in the film.
Interesting.
Never credited in the film, and that was intentional. They wanted to keep it that way. They didn't want you to know who the killer was, and they didn't want, so they intentionally don't credit him in the film. But of course, if you've seen the film, you know it's Kevin Spacey, and it's a brilliant whodunit detective, have to solve it type serial killer movie. And the guy bases his killings on the 7 deadly sins, hence 7. Gluttony and vanity and just think of all the sins. And this is how he kills people, is based on the 7 sins. And creepy as shit. I mean, just like really. And unfortunately, I mean, Kevin Spacey plays this guy fucking brilliantly. And... maybe we know why now. But not saying Kevin Spacey's a serial killer. Just come at me. I'm just fucking crazy. Come on. Yeah, I mean, how can anybody, you can't not love this movie, right? It's like a young Brad Pitt. Really, I think this is the movie that kind of cemented him and like establishes him in the, okay, now he's a movie star. Now he's the A-lister movie star, right? And Gwyneth Paltrow and I mean, come on, Morgan Freeman. The three of them play off each other so well. And the old cop, young cop, grizzled, like, learn from me, but you can learn from me also type storyline played into it brilliantly. And it's just, I can't say enough about it. This thing was brilliant.
So good, man. So good. Well, we want to know, what are your favorite serial killer movies? Please be sure to comment below in the YouTube section or add us on Twitter or Threads. Because we love the interaction. We just want to know. We love getting to know all the fun stuff. Well, heading over to the box office recap this week, of course, like we talked about in the industry news segment, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came up at number 1 with $60 million at the domestic box office for the weekend specifically.
That's right.
Number 2 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with $11.5 million. Elemental at number 3 with $11.3 million. No Hard Feelings at 11.5 million. Those two should be swapped. And then number 5 is Transformers: Rise of the Beast with 7 million.
Very
So
quietly hanging around there, Transformers Rise.
it
Just
is.
did not get the marketing campaign I felt it deserved, because I hear it's a
Yeah,
really good movie, but it's
exactly.
just.
I mean, it looks really good.
It does.
Yeah. New movies coming out this week, like we mentioned before. Insidious, The Red Door.
Yes.
And it looks like everything in between won't track anyway. Just go see Indiana Jones, says an old person.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we shall see how that goes.
Well, Wednesday, I think this coming Wednesday, which oddly enough, isn't it funny that this Wednesday, Mission Impossible, the biggest movie star in the world currently, right? His movie opens, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, on the day of the deadline of SAG's contract negotiations.
That is interesting.
Right? Like, what will happen? It's going to it'll be,
For sure.
I bet
Movies
he's
you can
not
still go
happy about
see.
that.
No, I bet he's not either. Movies you can still go see. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. It's still there. It's still out there somewhere. The Little Mermaid, The Flash for now. See it while you can. Asteroid City, which is definitely interesting. Wes Anderson is always just an interesting character to me, so I'm always like skeptical about seeing his films. But I mean, it's got Tom Hanks. Come on.
And Scarlett Johansson.
And so many others in there. Yeah, he's really known for bringing together a very eclectic cast.
Yeah.
And then of course you can go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because it's awesome, and a couple of others, of course. But just have fun this weekend, guys. Be sure to stay safe and head out to your local theaters and have a little fun.
Yes.
Now, heading over to the IMDbPro's top trending segment. The top trending movie is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Top trending show is Black Mirror. And the top trending star, like we don't like to do, but it just is what it is, Julian Sands, top trending star. They passed away. But yeah, it was a very amazing show, guys. We're super excited to be back, getting our groove a little bit better and better each time. But man, we got to thank our guest one more time, Ashley Alexander, for coming on the show and getting a little crazy with us. She was absolutely a gem. Be sure to follow her on social media. I believe she's mostly on Instagram, so be sure to follow her Instagram. I believe it's Living Free Ashley. And of course, you guys know you can follow us on social media. We have a few new ones out there right now. Threads, we are all over Threads, the new social media that just come out of Instagram and Meta. So be sure to follow us on Threads at Crazy Ant Media and at ITCAF Podcast. And we are also back on Snapchat, so you can follow us on Snapchat.
Yes.
That's just for us personally at J Logan Austin and at Crazy Ant CEO. And of course, like on all the other podcast or all the other platforms, we're at Crazy Ant Media, at ITCAF Podcast. And us personally, we're at J Logan Austin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
Yes. Anywhere and everywhere there's social media, we will be there.
Sadly,
and you guys know
everywhere.
And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. And of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear, because we have anything and everything you need for your apparel needs.
Yes.
Man, I don't know. This really is like, the more and more we talk about it, we really are in the day and age of horror, and how like it's very interesting because we go in phases with all of the different genres, and right now we're in the horror phase. So it'll be interesting to see how long that one lasts.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's going to evolve, if you will. It just seems like a no-brainer to me that the next big horror franchise should be something to do with AI. I'm just saying.
That's fair.
Yeah. Right.
Well, do you remember there is that John David Washington movie coming out that's very AI based?
Exactly. So I feel like that's the direction the horror is going to go. And because Hollywood's horrified of it, so it just makes sense to make movies about it, right? And I love anytime we can bash Zaslav. I always have fun.
Anytime, for sure.
Like, yeah. Hopefully, we won't be able to do it much longer. Hopefully, it's like a Chapek situation, and we can just end bashing him because he's gone. That would be like the ultimate. I don't know who you bring in to run Warner Brothers though. Like at this point, it'd be tricky to see who takes control of it if it is sold off as intact. I don't know. And then of course, like I said, the continued strikes and the worrisome what will, what won't happen. How long are we going to stay at it and everything? Because, it does affect us. We've got so many things we're trying to do and get going and at a halt because of it all. So anytime we can talk about that and give our thoughts on that, that's always fun.
For sure, man, for sure. And I'm really excited about the Bob Marley movie too, because it looks really good. Sometimes the biopics are very hit or miss, but this one looks really good. And that guy, he's everywhere right now.
Killing it right now, man. He is killing it. Like, yeah.
Because I mean, he's on Secret Invasion. Yep. He was in I believe One Night in Miami. Yep. This one, he's so good. So good.
Yeah, it's too bad he's on Secret Invasion because I feel like he could probably be Kang.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, I feel like that is coming. Just wait. Sometime over the next few weeks, we're going to get an announcement that unfortunately is going to be needing to be replaced. I say unfortunately because it's unfortunate that anybody has to have that happen because of something so bad, right? And because harm was caused. But I mean, I've been seeing reports coming out that it apparently was an issue in the past too, not just recent. So,
damn.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one too.
Craziness. Well, it's all about one love, and we love the one, the only.
Oh, bro.